Hey guys, happy Wonderland Wednesday! Today's guest is JP Karliak. JP is a voice actor, he's a writer, he's an activist. You might know him as the voice of Boss Baby in the animated series Boss Baby Back in Business. You might know him as Dante Crescendo in the new Trolls Topia, which just premiered last month. You might know him as Willy Wonka in Tom and Jerry's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. We are very excited, and I say we as the collective we, me, all of you guys who are so kind to join right now. Please help me welcome JP Karliak. Hey Josh, hey Donnie, Carlitos, good to see you guys. Thanks for joining live. Happy Wednesday.
Hello,
Hi,
happy
how are
Wednesday.
you?
I'm very well. Thanks for
It's
having
good
me
to
on the
see your
show.
face.
You
Yeah, it's
too.
good to see your face. It always does that like super uber zoom in where you're like, wow, we're
Yeah.
so close. You see my nose hairs? I don't think I have
I
any
have to
anymore.
say, you have one of the strongest quarantine hair games. Like your hair, you are going out, you are on a red carpet, you are, yeah. I mean, it is very on point. I am very jealous.
I don't know. I think we might be tied because your hair is, as the kids say, on fleek.
Uh, is that what the youth are saying these days?
I wouldn't know. I'd have no idea.
Awesome. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Wednesday. It's good to
Thank
see
you.
you. How was your day?
Busy,
Yeah,
busy.
good.
I'm in the process of moving,
Oh my gosh.
and I'm moving in with my partner, and he lives in Long Beach, and I live in Glendale. So, and we're renovating his place. So, my booth, which I am currently in, is still in Glendale. So I'm commuting back and forth every day.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's just now. Granted, it's shutdown time, so the traffic is minimal, which is
I,
good. But
yeah.
it's still a thing. But I'm getting podcasts in, so that's something.
Hey, well, thanks for making time for us tonight.
Sure, happy to.
Yeah, that's exciting to move to Long Beach. Long Beach is such a really cool little community.
It is. It's really, really charming. They have a lot of really cool art and food and stuff like that. So
An
yeah,
amazing aquarium, the canals. Uh,
I do love the Aquarium of the Pacific.
Hurry up and open up once all the COVID's gone.
I know. I hope they're doing okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's so good to see you. I know that a lot of people were typing in questions that for a little giveaway. We're doing a giveaway. I think I've already chosen my winner, but anybody that has questions for JP, go ahead and type them in the box at the bottom. You'll see a little question mark. Go ahead and type them in. We might not get to all of them, but I will do my best to try and answer your questions. I have some questions of my own.
Oh, all
Um,
right.
it's been so fun to dive into your career. Um,
Okay. I can't wait to see what you found.
oh no, no stalker stuff, just
No.
straight up fun. Um, but all your characters that you do are very dynamic. You know, you have quite a range, but I noticed it's a lot of like the higher status characters, and I
Most of
think
my
that
characters have a college education, yes.
yes. Yes. And I kind of wanted to start off talking with Boss Baby about Boss Baby because
Sure.
that's one of my favorite shows to watch with my son. I think the writing on that show is fantastic. And he's 4. And what I love about the show is it really feels like a family show. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I'm happy to watch it with him, unlike some shows that I want to claw my eyeballs out. Um, so I was just curious because obviously Boss Baby, the animated series, is based on the movie, which is based on a book series actually
Hmm.
by Marla Frazee. And how was it coming into an amazing role that had sort of already been voiced before?
I mean, the vast majority of my career has been voicing um, characters that have been previously done before.
Hmm.
So it wasn't extraordinarily intimidating. I will say that, just because I was kind of used to that thing, and also I was coming into like when I was auditioning and even in the callback. I wasn't coming into it because I thought I did a flawless Alec Baldwin. I was coming into it with like, I think I've got the energy of the character based on what I had seen from the trailer because the movie wasn't out yet, you know, when I
Uh-huh.
auditioned.
Oh, okay.
So all I
Wow.
had was the trailer. And I was like, all right, I've seen Glengarry Glen Ross. I kind of know what's going on here. And I know that my Alec Baldwin is but my Will Arnett is pretty good and it's
Yeah.
close. So let's just go with that. So I was really just kind of going on a hope and a prayer. And um, you know, there was because it was the pilot, there was a whole slate of characters that, you know, they were auditioning at the time. And I also auditioned for the villain for that season. And I was like, I feel like that I'll probably get called back for that, but I don't know. Boss Baby's just sort of like well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, and who knew? Yeah, got the big BB. So
You
yeah, it
guys
was
are
cool.
on your fourth season now, right? Fourth? Wow.
Yeah, our fourth season just came out. Our final season for the Boss Baby back in business. So yeah.
But maybe they'll do like a Trolls thing and they'll be like Boss Baby back in business or like
Back in it,
Boss
back.
Baby Topia or something like that.
They may very well. I mean, Kung Fu Panda's on its what, fourth, fifth series at this point. So keep it
Yeah.
coming. Yeah.
Keep it coming, guys.
Mhm.
Right to your local TV
Your
network.
your local DreamWorks affiliate.
Right to your local DreamWorks affiliate and or Netflix requesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's so fun. So do you guys do like when you are doing recording sessions, especially now with COVID, are did you used to go to the studio, I'm assuming, prior to COVID?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And would do semi-group records. Like, oh, are you there?
Oop, did we freeze?
We got a
I can
little.
hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm frozen. You're frozen. I'm frozen.
Oh, now you're back. Now you're good. Okay, great. Um, and brought to you by water.
Sparkling water.
Yeah, we would have semi-group records. So it would usually be me and Pierce, who played my older brother, and maybe some of the other characters, but we didn't necessarily get the whole group all at once all the time.
Yeah.
We did for our last record, which was really wonderful. But yeah, it's a good group. It's a
Would you
wonderful.
record with the woman who played Stacy?
Oh, Alex, yes,
Alex,
yes.
yeah.
Anytime I got to record with Alex was a dream. She is out of her mind. She's so funny. And she's just such a sweet person, and Stacy is such a homicidal maniac that like that kind of back and forth was just brilliant. Brilliant.
I love her, Stacy. And yeah, I was wondering because you guys have so much great energy and back and forth if you guys were in the same room or just winging it.
Yeah, no, it's great to be able to play off her. Although it is often hard because she will say a line, then I have to stifle a laugh, then I have to, so yeah.
Jump back in. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's so fun. And so your other show, Trolls Topia, just premiered in November. So
Mhm.
tell us about that and tell us about the role you play, which is Dante Crescendo, classic.
So it's such a fun part. And the interesting thing is like it's a little it's it's a direct sequel to like the movie series, and then of course also the Trolls The Beat Goes On, which was the previous series. But what's interesting is like, there's a whole lineup of characters that you have met in Trolls The World Tour, the movie.
Yeah.
Like the classical country and hard rock trolls and all that, and the techno trolls. But we're not the same characters. We're like the ambassador characters.
Yeah.
Which I'm hoping means that, like, because so I'm the classical troll. The classical troll in the movie was Gustavo Dudamel, who is the conductor of the LA Philharmonic.
Right.
The amazing Megan Hilty is our country troll in our show, but in the movie it was Kelly Clarkson. So I'm just crossing my fingers that we have kind of crossover where we all get to play in like a very special. If it were in any way true, I wouldn't be talking about it, but I'm hoping that might come to pass.
Hey, I'm sure the execs are watching this show right now. So, I mean, that's 2 votes for a crossover.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a phenomenal show. And what I love about Dante he's so different from Boss Baby.
Yeah.
He's just so light and fluffy, and like and
Like,
everything is positive, and the whole show is just really positive and fun, and also, I mean, just, health wise, like Boss Baby's a little bit of a grind on the throat, but
oh, yeah.
Dante I could do all day long. It is, I mean, it's such a just a light, airy, fun voice to do.
Yeah, he's a fun character. I was just watching that tonight actually with my kiddo.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
like
good time.
the one upside of breeding is you have a constant reason to keep up with animated television. So
True, true.
highly
Although I find
recommend.
excuses anyway, but yeah.
Um, so I know that you are, obviously a big activist who you've committed a lot of your time to making a positive impact through both Nerds Vote and now your new project, Queerbox. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that because it's
Yeah.
brand new. I don't even know if our viewers are aware that you're doing that.
Yeah. So Queerbox is an idea that I came up with like 2 weeks ago. It's crazy, but
Take action.
yeah, I mean, I have a few friends in casting, both in video games and animation, and we were in individual conversations kind of just
Mhm.
talking about positively the uptick in the desire from producers and networks and studios and creators to have more queer diversity, especially gender diversity, in their casts, which is awesome.
Yeah.
The downside is that there aren't a huge ton of union represented
Hmm.
trans and genderqueer and non-binary voice artists, like,
Hmm.
and it's not that the talent isn't out there, of course it is, it's just
Yeah.
a matter of like, you know the opportunities haven't been there, so most people probably haven't thought like, oh, I'm going to get into that where there are no jobs, and now there are. So
Yeah.
my thought was, all right, let's reach out to those performers and actors who have an interest in voiceover and get them trained so
Yeah.
that they can get representation and take those jobs. Because inevitably, what happens, and we've all seen these breakdowns where an audition will come across your email box that it's either trans, or maybe it's gay or lesbian or something, and it's just like, I'm not necessarily right for this. But because there was nobody in the agent's roster, they're like, well, I got to send out somebody.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
So, it would just be nice to, if we're going to have this diversity in the roles that are being portrayed on screen, that the people who are voicing them behind them are also authentically cast.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the goal. What Queervox is it's going to be a 3-week pay what you can boot camp for the LGBTQ plus community, specifically aimed at trans, non-binary, and genderqueer artists with a priority towards BIPOC. Because that's the other thing, is that when you don't see a lot of diversity of actors available to you, if that character is also intersectional, where they're not only trans but they're also a person of color, then it's like, well, who is there? So we want to make sure that that bench is there. That it's like, well, here's the list. Take your pick.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's such a push in casting to get diversity in the characters and in writing to get the diversity. So we represent America, we represent the world. So you had a huge amount of interest in your, were you
Yeah. So
surprised?
I announced it last Friday,
Hmm.
thinking, all right, I'll leave the application open until the 31st and we'll see how many we get. The
Yeah.
plan was always that the class would be about 10 people because it's over Zoom. And, with only three sessions, you want to make sure that you give everybody individual attention, and,
Yeah.
everybody gets a chance to work and talk and all that.
And ask questions.
Yeah. So, but then by Sunday, we had over 200 applications. And, I don't have an admissions team. It's just me. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. But
And
the,
it's a live class. It's
yeah,
not just a module. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe eventually I'll upload something to Masterclass, but for right now,
Yeah.
swear to God. Although
Nancy
Nancy
Cartwright has
Cartwright,
a new
yeah,
master class.
yeah, I just saw that. I have to watch it.
It's so
Get some
crazy.
pointers.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so it's a champagne problem. I have a dearth of interest, which is, puts the onus on me to like, okay, I gotta step up and make sure that we create something great, and also that we can start to build a community. Because even if this workshop only instructs 10 people, I don't want those 200 plus people to
Yeah.
feel like, oh, sorry, slam, the door is not available, the door is shut to you. No, I want to build this community so that, as we offer these workshops, we can get more of those people in and they get individual attention, but also maybe if we do panels or we do
Hmm.
or Q&As or something, that everybody has a chance to be involved as opposed to just the usual, small little workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, you could, how are you focused on building community within that group? Are you looking at Facebook? Are you looking at um, any ideas or still figuring it out?
Still figuring it out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's only a couple days. But yeah, I mean, social media is going to be a biggie.
Yeah.
I one of the first things I did on Monday was I made sure that I got the Twitter handle and the Instagram handle and the
So
website and everything. Like, so
it's real.
I've got the parts. I just have to build it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the next thing. Um, I was really fortunate last year to, the past few years to be working on Nerds Vote, which is still
Yeah.
ongoing and is a great project. Um, but now that we've gotten through this huge election cycle, I was kind of looking for what that next,
Call to action.
yeah, that next calling is, and what, how can I really affect change, especially in the areas that are really passionate to me, and
Yeah.
one of the biggest is queer representation. So yeah.
Um, now, I don't want to get too personal, but I am curious
Mm.
about your experience growing up as a queer person.
Mhm.
You grew up
Um,
outside New York, is that right?
Scranton. So
Scranton.
yeah, like 2 hours
All
outside
that.
New York, and I would
Okay.
I would go to the city a lot. Yeah, I mean, Scranton's a small town, so
Yeah.
it wasn't easy, and I grew up in the 90s. So like, when
Me
before
too.
things were
That's
like
really
really
exciting.
mainstream, and
Hmm.
not that things are
And theater
necessarily,
kid,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
So
you
it
kind
was
of find.
hard. Like, I mean, there was definitely bullying, like real bullying and stuff like that. That was really difficult. But I was very fortunate in that I was a theater kid. I was a band kid, and had that little nucleus of friends, um, many of whom were queer, and we kind of just lived in our own little secret circle. That it was like, we even had this little organization that called the LOQ, the Legion of Queers. So pretentious, but like,
Did you have
um,
t-shirts?
no, but we did have membership cards. Somebody laminated membership cards.
Did you
It's
keep
terrible.
it? I
No, I think at some point, um, the intention was good, but I
Yeah.
think the organization was, it just became really like, black turtleneck wearing, very pretentious, and I'm like, okay, 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 calm down, um, yeah, it was, I'm an only child, and for for me and my parents, it was a tricky navigation.
Yeah.
My mom and I are definitely like, we've always been super, super close, and she's super on board now, and really loves my partner. But it was a journey, and I think that's the thing that I'm seeing now, in like, certainly in small towns and rural areas around the country. It's still very hard, or in religious communities, it's still very hard for queer people, if you're gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, whatever.
Hmm.
So that's still present. But I think nationwide, and certainly worldwide, trans people and people that of gender diversity, um, are experiencing a lot of that, like really harsh bullying that I faced, 30 years ago. So while
Mm-hmm.
I could never know their exact experience, I identify with that sort of rejection.
Yeah.
And I think that's what draws me to like, okay, this is the battle that we as a queer community need to be fighting. Um, you know, because the gay marriage thing is good. We're good there. Like we can, we're
Nailed
fine.
it.
We got it.
In the
We can
bucket.
move on.
Check.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when I think about like the It Gets Better campaign and just for all of us that grew up, kind of being the art student kids or the weirdos or getting harassed in where I grew up, it was, football players and just really a lot of sexism.
Yeah.
And yes, also, being a theater kid, many of my friends were gay and, um, just that discrimination. I I wonder what the experience is like now because I feel like there are so many more role models, and you've become a role model as well through just putting yourself out there through your line of work and, growing up with just 17 magazine, you know, I mean, we didn't necessarily have that in the 90s. So I
Yeah.
wonder.
We had there was like maybe a quiz in 17 magazine
Yeah.
where you know
Did you?
we'd be sitting at the lunch table to be like, all right, I have a quiz. It says, is your best friend gay? Do you want to answer these questions? Like, no, 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 no.
Yeah, there was just sort of, one ideal of beauty and one, right way to think. And now with things like Instagram and social media, we can really follow and anybody we want.
Yeah,
Although then it becomes the overwhelming paradox of choice. But
sure. Yeah. And I think the beauty is that there is that internet community that, even kids in rural areas can see that there is that world outside of where they are.
yeah,
It doesn't change that the world that they live within is still, painful and sometimes tricky, but yeah, it's a wit. I know that I would have loved to have a window to be like, oh, that's what's out there when I was a kid. So,
oh yeah, YouTube, you'd be like, what?
well, I never would have
What
left my house. I just would have been like, what is all
is
this?
yeah, and now you can't, so
Yeah,
there you go.
perfect.
um I had a couple questions. I pulled the audience. Let me actually see where we're at with our questions online. Oh, but I did, but before we launch into any online questions, I was checking out your solo show that you did,
Oh,
Donna Madonna, about, I don't know if it's been ongoing, but Fringe Award winner, San Francisco, 2011. And, you also won the United Solo Theaters Festival Best One Man Show. That's amazing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
was it?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm just curious because I know just the tagline and I'm curious how much of that is true.
The show is, I think I used to say it's 98.5% true. And I say that because, in the crafting of a one-man show, sometimes you have to reorder events just so they have a better arc in the telling
Yeah.
of the story. Or, so the show is about being adopted and being raised in Scranton by my adopted parents and eventually meeting my birth mother. And all of the wonders and wackiness of her. And
She was really a pop star. Like it was.
so in the show, I say that she was a fashion columnist married to a British pop star.
Okay.
That part is not exactly true.
Okay.
It's close. It's very, very close. But
Uh-huh.
at the time, there were still people in both of our lives that didn't know about this whole adoption thing. So,
Oh,
um,
wow.
so we kind of so I was so I took the character and took it about like a step and a half away from who she really is,
Yeah.
so I could both so I could protect her identity, but also so I had a little creative license to sort of like exaggerate her even a little further.
Oh, sure.
Because it's called Donna Madonna because I always think that I was raised by Donna Reed, but my birth mom is Madonna. So yeah. So I got to play with the fantastical elements of her a little bit more. But yeah, it was. I wrote it in 2010, and then I toured with it in 2011, and I did it on and off. I feel like I think the last time I did it was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember. So it's been a minute, and a lot of it just has to do with that. The show is like so many autobiographical pieces. It's a slice of a particular point in time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I still love the show, but it's not me anymore. Like it's not who I am as a person. So
Yeah.
I feel like unless I have a follow up, and I've been toying around with what follow ups look like for this, but until I have something that kind of represents who I am right now, it's hard for
Yeah.
me to jump back and be like, "Hi, look who I am in my 20s." You know. So
Yeah. How now are you doing much writing these days?
well,
I global
you think.
pandemic.
I there is a project that I have been working on. Admittedly, you know, mental health has been a little hard this year,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I think there was an early part in the pandemic where I was like, this is it. This is my moment to write and get all of those projects done and be really productive. And this is the Lord just saying that this is my time. And then, you know, all of the depression and anxiety of being in the midst of like a virus is just like, oh, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
So,
Just try and get through and stay sane and stay grounded and
yeah. And I think, you know, working on, uh, working on Nerds Vote was certainly outside of like work and life and you know eating and sleeping and all of that. Nerds Vote was kind of that extracurricular activity thing that I just felt
yeah.
like this is my driver. This is the thing that keeps me going. You know, we were doing a show every twice a week on Instagram Live, and yeah, that was that extra thing that really propelled me through the year. That I was like, this is the thing that I need to do, and that keeps me going.
And you guys were doing like 2 live streams a week. That's a lot. I know one is a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, uh, I don't know. I don't know about you. I'd be interested to know what your thing, what your thoughts are. But my thing was always, I loved the conversation. I loved doing the show. It's the getting of the guests that is, it's so hard because, and I mean, not just because, you know, not. It's one thing if you want to do a show where it's like, I just want to talk to people. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's another thing where it's like, well, I want it to be somebody who has professional clout, and I want it to be somebody who can bring in numbers because, you know, like our ulterior motive for the whole thing was like, we wanted to bring in somebody's enormous fan base and then tell them about voting and like getting to the
Yeah.
polls and like what an absentee ballot is and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's
And
the
you
hard
also
part.
have this added layer of people that are comfortable talking about politics
Mm-hmm.
and putting that on the line. So I don't know
Which
if
I will say has increased this year, thankfully.
yeah.
Like, I think people
Yeah.
got aggravated enough and not only aggravated, but they were stuck in their homes, like scrolling through CNN and all of that so much that they were just like, you know.
Go vote.
I was so surprised when we had, I'm not calling her out in any way, but when we had Felicia Day on our show,
Uh-huh.
because I've never known her to be like, I've known her to be an outspoken person, but I've never known her to be a mad person. And she was like furious on our show.
Oh, I
Like
haven't seen it. Yeah.
it was great. It was great. You know, but like she had a lot of stuff that just had really just stuck in her craw. And I mean,
Yeah.
we were just like, yeah, you know, yes to that. But yeah, it's been neat to see. It's you because you never quite know. Like when somebody comes on and they might be more reserved than you expect. They might be just incensed. They like everybody's when you touch somebody's political button, it's hard to know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then so did you find it was just hard sometimes for people to lock down the day and time or
I think it wasn't so much scheduling as it was just, you know, trying to continually up our game and reach out to bigger and bigger people, so that
Yeah. Oh yeah.
so, you know, it all just had to do with we wanted to hit as many people as possible.
Right. Right.
Um,
And
and
then
of course,
do you have like a one sheet and like when I used to do this
yeah,
show before, I had like materials. So I felt like I could approach people I didn't know. And in this incarnation, I just haven't got there yet. So I'm just asking people I know at this point, like, come hang out in the Wonderland. It's super cash, you know. But
yeah. I mean, we do have a press
eventually,
kit, and we have like,
yeah.
it's not a press kit because there's a lot of but it's like our materials that, you know, talks about all of the impressions and the various projects and events that we've done and everything, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
how did Nerds Vote all come about?
oh sure.
You know,
So
obviously I just started like felt like I just one day was like hearing about it everywhere, but I was off social media for 14 months, so I missed a lot. So how did
sure,
that all
fair.
come about?
So Nerds Vote is the brainchild of Courtney Taylor,
Hmm.
the amazing voice actress, and you know, she was lamenting that we she was trying to find a way to be able to reach out to the so many people that we have as fans,
Hmm.
you know, to tell them about voting. And then she just had like this brainstorm where it was like, wait a minute, we're at conventions. We go to conventions, we do signings, we do panels all the time. We have a captive audience right there to be able to talk to them. So Nerds
Yeah.
Vote really was born out of a convention visiting,
Yeah.
you know, model where we were partnering with this huge voting rights organization, Headcount, or voter registration organization, and we would liaise with the conventions that we were visiting to get them a booth there and register people and all of that. Then, of course, the pandemic hit, and conventions went out the window. So that's when we transitioned to doing the Instagram live show
Yeah.
and just trying to really reach out to people digitally. And we also have, who actually just joined the stream. Hi, Ivy. Our social media guru, Ivy, and the Spooky Kids. She's there.
Oh, hi.
So Ivy is our amazing social media maven, and it's because of her and you know, working with Courtney that we've developed kind of this all digital strategy, especially
Hmm.
for this year. But will also be a major component going forward in, you know, how we get out the word.
Do you know how many people you've registered to vote so far?
No,
If you
that's the
don't
hard part.
tally that.
And that mostly has to do. I mean, it's several hundred, but you know, is our ballpark. But
Thousand, several
yeah.
hundred thousand. I promise.
Um, but a lot of it just has to do because we partner with other organizations that are actually doing the register, like they have the digital platform that people
Yeah.
register on. You know, a lot of the times we don't have the solid number in terms of like, oh, this is exactly how many people re-register. We know how many people have interacted with us online and how many people have had eyeballs on the, you know, the dates and deadlines and information and how to get ballots and all sorts of stuff that we have put out there. But in terms of how many people have actually done the deed, I don't know. And that's something we're working on. Like because it's Courtney and me and Ivy who've been running the whole show. Uh, you know, and whatever money we make on selling t-shirts. So
Hmm.
you know, that as we grow.
Which, where can anyone go buy a t-shirt?
Nerdsvote.com. Thank you for asking.
Hey, you know, it's still doing 20% off though, because that was like a special sale, right?
I don't know if we are. That's a good question. Courtney is the lady with the merch. So I don't know if that was. I thought it might be through the end of the year, but I could be wrong.
It's like
yeah,
maybe somebody hasn't taken down the code yet, so go to Nerds Vote and
now quickly,
quick, get that 20%.
Yeah, but yeah, as we grow, you know, analytics is going to be one of our big things, and
yeah,
you know, being able to have those numbers because, you know, it's kind of that catch-22 where if you want to continually, you know, get bigger celebrities in order to reach larger fan bases, you also have to have all of the, documents and press that it's like, here's what we deliver and why you want to come on our show. Aside from the fact that we're charming and we have a good time.
And that there's really nothing else you have going on right now.
Yeah, what are you doing? I mean, there were
Have a
people.
Zoom Christmas party.
There were at least 3 people that we talked to that were either like making sourdough or were like, I learned how to pickle. I'm like, well, there you go.
I'm making a tiny miniature Santa's Village craft. It's very, very labor intensive, but deeply gratifying / frustrating.
Now, is it made out of gingerbread or is it
no? It's going to be a family heirloom, and it'll be around long after I leave this planet. I keep telling my son because that's healthy. But yeah,
Mommy
so
will be dead one day.
It's like little, I mean, it's ceramics. The whole thing's just glue. It's just all held together by glue, but just wait till it's done.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Ivy has said 10 to 30% off everything right now. Thank you, Ivy. Much
awesome.
appreciated.
Thank you, Ivy. I think it's time I'm going to get one after the show. You guys should all get a t-shirt as well. Send me a picture and we'll post it here. Yeah, John just said, I think the pandemic has revealed how normal celebrity lives actually can be.
So normal. So very normal.
Making sourdough.
Yeah. People carrying around their babies, trying to rock them to sleep while they're talking to us. Like, just ordinary life.
Just ordinary life. But let's see. This is, I thought, a really, Rachel Dawn 93. Hey, Dawn's my middle name too. Can you give advice on how to talk with children on being a true ally? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the beautiful thing about kids, especially little kids, is that they don't know what it means to be prejudiced or we're the ones that teach them that. So being a good ally is less about instilling something in them that isn't there, but instead trying to break down the things that we, not just parents, but as a society, have put on them. Yeah. I think of, so I have 2 nephews, I guess, because I'm their gunkle. I'm not their biological uncle, but they're my nephews. But and they're young kids, and they like to wear dresses. Awesome. And one of them has been playing with this new buddy, and all of a sudden he didn't like wearing dresses anymore. And I'm not saying he has to. Yeah. But you could see that light dimmed just a little bit because something that friend said what you're doing is not okay. And I think part of talking to kids about being an ally is impressing upon them, not only for themselves, but also what their friends are doing, is like, this, whatever you're seeing in that other person is their identity or form of expression or form of, or way of being. And it is going to be different from yours. And that's what makes the world beautiful, is those differences, not the, we all need to be the same. I mean, yeah. We all don't want to be like tract housing in Orange County, like.
No offense to people who live in tract housing in Orange County.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I see such a big shift with this generation. My son was playing with 2 of his friends, a brother and a sister, and they were like playing this elaborate game of house. We're like, oh, you guys are playing house? And they're like, yeah, we're the daddies and she's our daughter. That was just their natural way of playing house, I mean, they would mix it up. There would sometimes one would be, it'd be the mother and father, or it'd be like just one parent and 2 kids. It's just so amazing to think that, wow, they're really not holding that judgment.
Yeah, because the thing is like, how your kid ends up is, A, it doesn't matter, and B, it's out of your control, no matter how much you want to believe otherwise. But there are so many different avenues that your kid might take along the way, wearing dresses, trying on makeup, or or playing or girls who, you know, just tackling people and stuff like that, you know, doesn't mean that's the default they're going to stick with their whole lives. It's just
Yeah.
it's something they're trying. And what I love, I so wish that my identity grew out of my ability to try things and pick what I wanted for myself,
Mm-hmm.
rather than feeling that doors were being shut in my face. Like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Okay, this is my safety zone.
Mm-hmm.
Because only now, I'm almost 40, and only now do I feel like I am expressing myself, and I can identify myself in a way that feels like, oh, this is really me.
Yeah.
This is not me conforming to something.
Yeah. And also it's like, as an actor who's used to taking on, we become accustomed to taking on lots of different personalities, wearing different hats, exploring other worlds. So sometimes it's hard, you know, to have that sense of self, to be like, okay, where am I amidst all these characters, all these roles I've embodied throughout my life? Like, wait, am I that, or am I, you know, like if you ever go to like an actor's type meet class and they sit you down in the middle of the room and they all stare at you and say,
Ooh.
you look like you're from Florida, or you look like you're from Oregon, and you look like you drive a BMW or a VW. It's interesting. It's an interesting world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that, do you do on camera as well as voiceover?
I have a commercial agent. Yeah, I
Oh, okay.
just re-signed.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I
Very nice.
mean, make my own videos and stuff, but less of that, certainly. I think I gravitated more towards voiceover for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say, is that, you know, I did on camera for a hot minute, and
Yeah.
I very quickly found myself getting typecast as, okay, Mary, you know, and can I play that? You bet your damn ass I can. But
Yeah.
it's not all of me. It's not everything. And I I love that I get to play, as I was saying before, the divergent characters, all the way from Boss Baby to Dante Crescendo. Like, you know, I want to play all those levels, and voiceover
Yeah.
is that place.
Yeah. How have you been just keeping yourself busy these days?
Sure. Um, well, we're crazy busy because of this move and this renovation and all of that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that's like, that's bonkers. But I will say the healthiest thing that I did this year, because I know I talked about writing and how I wish that I accomplished more and everything, but in truth,
Same.
this was the year that I gave myself permission to rest, and to
Yeah.
that if the entire day was spent watching a season of DuckTales, the entire day was spent watching a season of DuckTales. So what? You know, this is an amazing show, by the way.
The new one?
The new one. Oh, it's amazing.
The old one's pretty amazing too, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But the old one has sort of like this adorable Disney sweetness about it, and I think the new one is just sort of like
Yeah.
spunky and edgy. But yeah, like I think this year was so much about focusing on two things. One, self-care,
Yeah.
and respecting my boundaries, and recognizing that this is a cataclysm, literally, that we are all going through, and that there are going to be moments where it's just like, I can't today, I can't, and that's
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
While at the same time recognizing that the metaphor of put your mask on before helping others,
Yeah.
it's a descriptor of that. You have to protect yourself so that you can survive before you assist other people. It does not mean you have to be 100%, or you have to be cushy, or you have to feel perfectly safe before you start thinking of others.
Yeah.
It's just, I just need to make sure that I am in a just a good enough place so that I can assist you as well. But
Hmm.
I don't have to, because the thing is that just leads to the navel gazing, where it's like, oh my God, that all looks so hard, I just can't, you know, and just you continue scrolling through your phone, and you just never interact. And as we've seen, especially this year, even though of course this has been going on for hundreds of years, but you know, that there are people who are dealing with really awful circumstances every day of their lives. And we have the luxury, partially as white people, but you know, for many reasons, that we can switch that off. We can, you know, like turn that off for a minute and be like, ooh, too much. And well, I'm not saying that I have been, you know, excellent about being 100% all the time, you know, active and raging against the darkness. I feel like I have been more cognizant of like, okay, am I stepping away from this activism, or am I stepping away from this cause, or saying something to somebody that's uncomfortable because it just makes me feel a little uncomfy, or because I cannot right now, you know, and making that distinction. So yeah, that's been keeping me busy this year.
That's a lot.
I mean, if there is two words that typify 2020, it's a lot. A
lot. A lot, which is not one word ever, right? That's one of those common misconceptions. I forget.
You know, I feel like it probably could be both. I don't spell it that way, but I spelled that. Okay, so this is one of the weird things I do. I know I've come up with weird reasons for things. Like, for instance, the difference between theater RE and theater ER.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
me, I always my differentiation is RE is the art and ER is the place. But I made that up. I didn't read
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I just always thought like, oh well, that's what that means.
It's one's just a bit more British.
Yeah. Or like the
In
difference
theater
between
to theater.
yeah, the difference between a vase and a vase is one is under $100. Like, you know, that's all.
Wow, you must own some expensive vases.
I only have vases. Only vases.
I just have the ones that come for free with the floral arrangement.
Bingo. That's exactly. Yeah.
Um, we had a couple people submit some amazing questions,
Oh,
and
yay.
I wanted to just see if I could track them down because Neon Light, I know you had a really great question, which I thought was in right. Right, guys, this is great. This is my first giveaway, so you can see I'm a bit of an amateur at the giveaway.
No, it's all good. And John Kalanga, you're right. If that is, I'm assuming that is your name.
It's
You're
Kalunga
right.
now.
Words are all made up. And
Words are made up.
Thor said that, I think.
Let me see. Well, are you still on here, Neon? Maybe you could type your question in now. Let's see. Well, okay, we'll go to Jeff's question. Oh, and that leads me to another question. What's it been like to get into dubbing, work on things?
Yeah.
You see it, Melinda.
Dubbing is great. Dubbing is hard for me personally.
Yeah.
Because it's so much more of a skill than a talent. You know, it's like you really have to. It's the nitty gritty of like being able to really figure out the timing and being okay. How do I need to say this so it fits in that lip flap the right way? And yeah, it's hard, but I like it. I like it especially because it's introduced me to so many projects that I might not have been introduced otherwise. Like everything from Millennium Actress, which is an amazing anime, to Valhalla Murders, which is an Icelandic murder mystery, to Veneno, which is all about the trans woman, trans celebrity from Spain and her amazing journey. So yeah, it's a really cool thing. But dubbing is one of the areas that I tell so many of my students when I teach to give a shot at, because it's traditionally been very non-union, but it's starting to become more union thanks to Netflix. And there's so much of it happening right now, not only anime, but just all sorts of dubbing and foreign projects from all over the world. And the pay is lower than union projects, but there's there's so many openings, there's so many roles that need to be filled, and not every union actor does it because it does pay less. So it's a nice place to really get in the door.
Also great if you have a lot of accent work.
Yeah, that does come up a lot.
Or a natural accent. I feel like that comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you have a lot of credits as an audio description narrator? What exactly is that?
I did. I haven't done it in a while, but I enjoyed that. That's another one that's such a skill. And there's a lot of that work out there. Most of it's non-union now, but it is great work if you have the stamina for it. Basically, audio descriptive narration is typically meant for the blind. So it's basically an audio track that plays on top of a TV show or movie that describes what is happening on the screen. And I say it's a skill in the sense that you're basically, the way you do it is you're watching the show or the movie, and you're given a script with time codes, and so like while the dialogue is going on, the time code will cue you in right after somebody stops speaking, so you have that brief little window in between lines to describe what's happening, so that
How did you get into that?
It was just a random thing that my agent threw at me. It was like, hey, this is a job. Do you know, if you, and it was kind of like a general audition, you know, you went in, and then if they liked you, they'd book you on a job, and then you'd kind of become in the rotation of doing these things.
So is it more like conversational? Like, okay, so now Joe sits on the couch, or is it more like Joe sits on the couch? Like, is it straight, or is it, because I could picture you being like having a really cool, like you're my best friend sitting next to me on the couch, like telling me about it.
I wish it was a little, and here's the thing. I think different people do it differently, and different audio houses do it differently. Mine was very straight.
Yeah.
Which, for the movies that I did, God, I wish it wasn't. Like, I did Sausage Party. And I wish it was more conversational. I wish that the descriptors weren't so clinical, because I was describing some really gnarly shit. And I wish that I could have just used the colloquialisms as opposed to being so medical about it. It was just like, oh God.
Oh my gosh.
It's so gross.
We all need to go watch Sausage Party and put on the it's not closed captioning. What would it, I guess it would just be
sometimes it does appear in that, like or if you're, because especially like on Netflix, it usually all appears in that one window where you can, the closed captioning and then also the dubbed language, and usually it's one of the tracks in the language dubbing.
That's cool.
It's not everywhere. Fun. Sometimes you have to look for it, and for the TV shows, it's usually here and gone, because it only goes with one of the first airings or something. But
oh, that's so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a neat little, I mean, that's the thing. Like, voiceover is such an amalgamate, like the way people get to, you know, animation and interactive is like the big, you know, things, and commercials, you know, the big things to do. But there's all these other little, you know, everything from radio imaging, which is the people that are like 97.1, like, or telephone answering machines, or, you know, all sorts of, you know, all the trees that are like, thank you for calling Spectrum, you know, those are people who got jobs. So yeah, it's neat how people
in secondary markets.
Right.
I kid. Do you have any like weird jobs or funny stories of stuff you've done? I mean, that was already real good.
Weird voiceover?
Yeah.
Oh, what was my weirdest? There's so much. I played a taste bud for Wiener Schnitzel. A series of animated commercials they did. Kind of looked like South Park, like they kind of had that like cutout sort of look to them. And it was these two taste buds that were talking. And
what did he sound like? Do you remember?
I have no. I feel like it was like one of these voices. I don't know. I don't think it was my natural speaking voice. I feel like it was some put on like
Uh-huh.
Facebook.
Oh, it's so fun. How long have you been with your agent? Did you start there or did you start somewhere else and then?
I've been at SBV for 3 years now. I feel like that's right.
Been a
Um,
good 3 years.
it's been a minute. Yeah. And then prior to that, I was with Sandy at AVO Talent
Mhm.
for, oh God, 2006. Carry the one. 12? No,
Wow.
12 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, they're awesome over there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's. I mean, I have yet to meet a voiceover agency as a whole that I'm like, oh, not them. Like, by and large, anybody that calls me up and is like, hey, I got signed by X, my answer is usually, that's awesome, because
Yeah.
all of them like all of them do a pretty good job, and it's sometimes it's just a matter of chemistry, and or just like where you're at the moment, but like for the
Yeah.
most part, like they're all pretty good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you are as well as being a voice actor, you're also a coach.
Yes, yes,
So
yeah.
can we talk about that? Because I know we have a lot of aspiring voice actors on the stream right now.
Sure, yeah. So I started teaching at this studio called Real Voice LA, which is their website, realvoicela.com. And college friends just connected us.
Okay.
And
You went to USC?
mhm, yeah. And I started teaching an animation. I started teaching just workout groups. Then I started teaching a boot camp, and now I have two different boot camps that I teach. And now I also do private coaching, and I also do demos, um, and all of them through Zoom right now, which has been great. It's actually even the demos have been going shockingly well.
Do you produce just animation demos or you do all across the board?
Real Voice does across the board. I only do animation, and I will also do interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think animation is my specialty. I will absolutely not touch a commercial demo. There are far more experienced people in that.
That's so funny. Yeah, I just, how long has Real Voices been around? Do you know? I feel like I
Not a
just
whole lot.
have started hearing about them more recently. And
Or
now I'm like, oh my gosh, they have so many wonderful people working with them.
yeah, 4 or 5 years maybe.
Oh,
Ooh,
really? Okay.
Mike's gonna kill me, but yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm supposed to know the entire history. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, they're relatively new, but I mean, they put out really good stuff. Mike DeLay, who's the owner and the head
Mhm.
engineer there. Like, he just does awesome work. So it's a good space, and the fact that they were able to pivot so quickly to Zoom classes and a lot of online offering has been great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if anybody has any last minute questions, go ahead and get them in. I'm so sorry that I can't find the giveaway questions. I think it like generated a direct message to me, but then now it's no longer in my messages. So sorry, guys. There were two
Oh,
really good, awesome questions. So maybe JP would, there were two I was trying to decide between. So maybe we could give them both away.
I mean, for anybody out there that just wants to, you are more than welcome to message me on Instagram. I am not yet so famous that I don't still read all of my Instagram messages. So feel free.
Uh-oh. Yeah, so great. So does anybody have any last minute questions? It's been so lovely. We did just tech amazing magic. We already covered that question at the top of the show. But so many great questions. And if anybody has any others, go ahead and type them in. Hello. Let's see, I already did that. Hello. Hello. And okay. Is voiceover work hard to get because of COVID? Um, yeah, COVID is shifting the industry for sure.
hmm
A
I
lot
think
more. Mhm.
I think it's hard for people starting out, for sure. Um, because it's always hard enough to through that wall.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, asking somebody who's just starting out, who doesn't yet have an agent and who doesn't yet have credits, to be like, hey, I need you to spend $15,000 on a booth and a setup and a mic and with all and the computer and all of that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
That's a lot to ask. And
And
I mean,
you'll make $500 the first year.
yes, if you're lucky. And obviously you don't need um, during normal times, you don't necessarily need all that to get started. You could just get like an Apogee mic and in your iPhone, and that can be like the thing that gets you started to
Mhm.
audition and and start moving the rock. But yeah, this year it's been hard. Like, luckily we have the safety stuff in place that you could go into work a gig safely, because you're in a padded room by yourself.
Right.
But getting those auditions, getting an agent, that's all hard stuff. So to the students that I've talked to, or like some of the kids that I mentor, like I'm like, this is the year you focus on training. Focus on training, focus on like accent and dialect work and like perfecting your skills, getting your materials in order so that when this all lifts and we can start seeing each other in person and doing all that, that you are ready to hit that ground. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to tell people like, well, go and meet an agent. Where? There's a few that are offering some online workshops and stuff, but it's tight right now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Jim Tasker has a question. Hey, Jim, it's good to see you. How often do you go off script and ad lib when you're auditioning? I mean, you probably ad lib anyways. Do you keep it in or?
It varies from audition to audition, honestly,
Mhm.
because there are some casting directors that don't like ad libbing. There are some that love it.
Uh-huh.
There's also, it varies from project to project. Like if it's a dramatic script, I probably, the most I'll ad lib is maybe just some sounds, noises, pauses that kind of like make it more realistic. But in
Mhm.
terms of my ad libs come in when I do comedy. I throw in a button, throw in a this or that,
Pretty
while
much.
at the same time, like just a little bit to just like make it feel like I want people to think that when they're listening to audition to feel like they're listening to a wonderful radio play where it's like, ooh, like I'm tuning into a little episode of this little radio play. And so it has all the reality of that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hmm.
I don't want to start adding so much stuff that it's no longer the script that was given, because
Yeah.
chances are if you work, like if it gets past casting and it's going up the flagpole, like it's going to be heard by the guy who wrote it or the
I
woman
know.
who's the creator or whatever, and she'll be like, well,
I've
apparently my
made that
script was
mistake
not very good,
before. Yeah. Oh.
so
Yeah.
but a little bit, I don't
Yeah.
think
Oh, for
there's
sure.
anything wrong with a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. If for
It's been
anybody that's
so
not,
fun.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming to the Wonderland. I lost the insight. It used to be inside Alicyn's Wonderland, but I'm like, is that too? I don't know. It's like too much.
Oh,
Um,
is it more of an OnlyFans page? Maybe.
it's like,
Maybe.
it's getting a little X-rated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you so much for coming. And for anybody that's not already following JP Karliak, be sure to give him a follow. Next week's guest is Sarah Sherman.
Oh my God, I
Uh,
love her.
yes, she's a casting director. She was at Disney for 12 years, and she is now a freelance casting director for Netflix primarily. And she's got a ton of shows in the pipeline. And she's going to talk all about casting for animated television. So we hope that you
Love it.
tune in and check it out. And if you're not already following moi, why not to do it? As the influencers say, like, subscribe, follow. I'm trying. I'm working on it.
No, hey, it's great.
But thanks, guys, and thanks for everyone who tuned in live. I'm so grateful. I'll post the replay now in case you missed the top. Okay, have a great night. Bye, JP.
Bye, Alicyn.
See you later.